Hello, my name is Bernie O'Rourke, Extension Livestock Specialist with UW-Madison Animal and Dairy Sciences Department. I'm pleased to be able to give you this unique lamb live and carcass evaluation program. We're pleased to be able to have the opportunity to view lambs from the sheep unit. Thank you, Todd Taylor. And subsequently review those lambs both live and through the carcass evaluation process in the new Meat Science building on UW-Madison campus. In addition, we'll have Cody Heimke from Nyman Ranch work through those lamb and their retail and wholesale cuts to show us some neat things that we can do on lamb cookery. This program is offered to you by UW Extension, the Animal and Dairy Sciences Department, and the Wisconsin Youth Livestock Program. Let's first just talk about live evaluation and just evaluating trimness and muscle. When we looked at the live lambs, we're going to show you a few pictures of those here soon, but we want to just show you here on this lamb where you need to look for places for trimness or for condition. And some of the best places to look is in the breast portion, over the ribs, and through the rack, loin, and top, and in the flank area. Usually, if a lamb's widest part of them is the center or the center of their back, so they're basically football shaped, that's generally not a good sign that they are trim. Trimness really kind of comes to you like a Coke bottle shape. There's a lot of indentation in through the shoulder. There's indentation in through the hip and loin, and that really illustrates us some overall trimness. If we can handle the ribs of a lamb and we can feel some of those ribs, that all shows us that there's trimness. If we look at muscling, usually a lamb that's really got a lot of width of base, that's going to indicate that there's probably a lot of muscle shape in this lamb. Width doesn't always mean muscle. That's why you need to make sure that the width is because of the width through the bones, not necessarily width due to fat. So other places you can look for muscling is in through the forearm, over the rack, loin, and top area, the leg of the lamb, and then also the stifle area. We're going to look at this first lamb that we're going to evaluate. This first lamb is a Targhee ewe lamb, and she's a tall, really large frame, long-bodied individual. But she certainly is very trim, or certainly trim, but if you can see her, she doesn't have a lot of width. She doesn't have a lot of width from behind, and so we're really kind of characterizing her as a light-muscled individual. And you can see through these pictures here, she's got a lot of length, but if you look at down her top, there's not a lot of muscle dimension. And if you look from behind here, she's a little narrow. There's no flare to that leg, and she really does stand with some narrow chest. Number 2 is a Polypew ewe lamb, and here she is really the one we're kind of characterizing as the fattest. She's got a lot of width, but the widest part of her is the center part of her, and she's got a lot of muscle or a lot of fat condition in through that breast. The side profile doesn't illustrate that so much, but if you look at the back of her in through the seam, and you can see here on the top, the widest part of her is the center part of her body. And her muscle seems pretty adequate. You can see in the breast, there's definitely got some muscle or some fat condition. If you look at the number 3, Hampshire ewe, you can definitely see a lot of muscle shape in through the leg, a lot of base width. So you should illustrate that she would have a lot of muscle expression, and we would characterize her as having open up with the largest eye, ribeye size, that is. And when we look at these pictures, there's a lot of length, there's a lot of depth, and you can really see that Coke-shaped top where there's indentation at the shoulder, there's indentation through that hip and loin, and there's a lot of width through the chest and width through the base of her leg. So as we evaluate these carcasses from the live lamb evaluation, we look at number 1 here. And this lamb, the carcass, the live weight on this lamb was 115 pounds. Carcass weight was 71 pounds. And fat thickness was 2/10 with 8/10 of body wall. And the ribeye size was 2.15. And the leg score was about an 11 with choice plus flank streaking. So this carcass really kind of really lined up with what we saw live. We didn't feel like this was the fattest in the class or of the 3 that we had, but certainly didn't have a lot of muscle shape. Was kind of viewed as that being that light muscled, tall framed, Targhee ewe lamb that really just generally in most cases is known for a wool breed and not for carcass merit. So this kind of makes sense with this carcass. If we look at carcass number 2 was that Polypew ewe lamb, and it weighed 122 live, had a 68.5 carcass weight, ended up having 3.32 back fat, and that makes sense. Body wall was even more with a 1.2 inches of body wall fat. Ribeye size was 2.1, leg score was 12, and quality grade was a prime average. So certainly a lot of fat thickness that kind of attributed to the quality. So in this case, this one really fit the bill from what we saw live. It was the fattest of the 3. Certainly the widest part of them was illustrated through the middle, and that showed through the body wall estimation of 1.2 inches. And it certainly had similar muscle expression as the Targhee ewe in number 1. So now moving to lamb number 3, the Hampshire ewe lamb. This lamb weighed 117 pounds live. The carcass weight on this lamb was 68.5. Fat thickness was 0.18, so definitely the trimmest in the class. 0.9 for the body wall, and had a whopping 3.1 ribeye area in square inches. 14 leg score, and choice minus in terms of quality grade. So this lamb certainly, again, kind of followed what we saw, was a trimmer of the 3, and certainly the heaviest muscled. And 3.1 is certainly above industry average in terms of muscling of those ribeye chops. But, looking at the other lambs, they were probably slightly on the lower end of industry average or right in there. But certainly a good set of lambs to kind of show you differences in trimness, differences in muscling, and even so in this case, really being around the same live weight merit. So here's the chart of the carcass data for all 3 lambs. You can see this BCTRC percentage, which correlates to boneless, closely trimmed retail cuts. And this really kind of is similar to like percent muscle in lean, where it's giving you the percent, of the carcass that would be in those trimmed retail cuts. So the Hampshire, because it excelled in trimness and muscling, really wins here with having the most BCTRC. The fattest, the formula really kind of downgrades those that have the fattest most quickly. So that one kind of goes to the bottom, number 2. And then the one that's kind of in the middle has a little bit of trimness and has decent muscling or adequate, kind of falls in the middle, and that's carcass and live animal number 1.